Welcome. And on behalf of DiscoverE and its many partners, thank you for attending the webinar today. I'm Michael Smith, or Dr. Mike, many know me as, President of the Board of Directors for DiscoverE. DiscoverE is a nonprofit organization that works to ensure people everywhere understand how engineers, technicians, and technologists make the world a better place. 30 years ago, we were the first to call on the engineering community to volunteer in their local schools and help young students discover engineering. Now we lead a growing volunteer and educator movement that is recognized worldwide. As we start our panel today, I'd like to introduce one of the members of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus, Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan. U.S. Representative Chrissy Houlihan is an Air Force veteran, engineer, entrepreneur, and educator who is continuing her career of service as the first woman ever to represent Pennsylvania's 6th District in Congress. Chrissy is the daughter and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors who came to America with nothing. She grew up in a military family. Her parents met when her father and grandfather flew P-3s in the same Navy squadron. She earned her engineering degree from Stanford with an ROTC scholarship that launched her service in the U.S. Air Force and Air Force Reserves, and later earned her MS in technology and policy from MIT. These experiences helped shape her political vision of a great nation united by common values that leaves no one behind. With that, I'd like to introduce Congresswoman Hoolihan.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. That was a really lovely introduction. I'm hoping that you can hear me okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. And thanks everybody who's also joining us. And as was indicated by my introduction, as you can probably hear, STEM is really personal for me, or STEAM, depending on who you're talking to. As an undergraduate woman, I was one of only 10 women in my engineering major at Stanford. Unfortunately, 30 years later or so, my daughter just recently graduated from that same university, and still that same degree has only 10 women graduating from that same program. So unfortunately, the picture in engineering and many other STEM fields is very similar today. Women make up, as we all probably know, about half of the population. In fact, I think it's about 51% of the population, but we in fact only hold 16% of all engineering jobs. And 28% of Americans are from underrepresented minority groups, but we have only 11% of the jobs in physical sciences. So as a country, we are clearly not making the best use of all of the talent that we have, and we aren't offering all of our citizens the opportunities which we all deserve. So just today, the international journal Nature, which covers peer-reviewed research in science and technology, cited a study that female scientists are less likely to be cited for their work in journal articles than their male peers. There's already sort of a well-documented gap in published research between male and female researchers, which has only worsened during the pandemic. But we really do have an opportunity to change this and so much more. And it starts with events such as these. And it starts with the bipartisan work of women in the Women in STEM and STEAM caucus at DC and in our home districts. And importantly, the Women in STEM and STEAM caucus was founded by 4 women bipartisanly, but it is supported by a membership of more than 50 members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, both men and women. I went to a STEM expo recently in my district and saw so many young women and girls who were so eager to pursue a career in STEM, and I'm hopeful that we might be able to turn the corner on this really challenging area. I had the opportunity also recently in my own community to tour the Science Institute at Albright College, which is in my community, to be able to see firsthand why we need to inspire our next generation of women to be able to work right alongside of all of us, men inclusive, in the STEM and STEAM fields. And right now in my own community, I'm fighting for $718,000 of community funding projects for our Westchester University, or WCU, for what's called their WCU Moonshot, where we want to establish a STEM program for comprehensive outreach, research, and mentorship that will allow students from elementary school to be able to think about a degree in STEM. So these are just some of the things that are going on in my community. And I'm certain that other people within the STEM and STEAM caucus, women in STEM and STEAM caucus, are working hard to make those things happen in their communities as well as in the rest of the country. The Women in STEM caucus is a really critical place to spread awareness of the importance of the diversity in STEM. And this is not just here within the halls of Congress where I'm speaking to you, but also out in our communities as we're doing right now. The caucus stimulates creative thinking on ways to improve our participation in STEM fields by women and also by underrepresented minorities with events just like this one. So there are really hard problems that we have to solve in this area of women in STEM and STEAM, but it makes it much easier when we work together as a group. So I want to thank you and thank DiscoverE for having me today. I very much look forward to working together with you all on these and so many other important issues. And thank you very much, Dr. Mike, for having us.
Thank you so much, Representative Houlihan, and thank you for being a champion for STEM and STEAM within the Congress. Thank you so much. Today, we focus on women in engineering. There are multiple studies looking at the reasons why women leave engineering and technology paths. Today, we want to talk about the common factors that motivate young women to pursue and then persist in engineering education and careers. We hope our guests leave today with a better understanding of why girls pursue engineering and how we can support them, and how we can help women push past merely navigating the challenges of merely surviving or persisting, but actually thriving in engineering and tech. A more diverse and inclusive engineering and tech workforce benefits us all as we tackle today's global challenges. And so before we jump into today's panel, I'd like to again thank our host for today's event, the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus. We've already heard from Congresswoman Hoolihan live, and we also have with us comments from Congresswomen Debbie Lesko, Hayley Stevens, and Jackie Wolorski. Our other three Congresswomen could not be with us today, but they did provide recorded comments. So I'll start with Congresswoman Lesko. Congresswoman Lesko serves on the House Committee on Energy and Commerce, where she serves on the subcommittee on energy and the subcommittee on consumer protection and commerce. Congresswoman Lesko was appointed as a leader designee to the Republican Steering Committee and to serve as an assistant whip for the 117th Congress. She also serves as co-chair of the Women in STEM Caucus and co-chair of the Crime Survivors and Justice Caucus. Congresswoman Lesko.
Good afternoon. I'm U.S. Congresswoman Debbie Lesko from the great state of Arizona. I want to wish you all a very happy International Women in Engineering Day. I'm thrilled to join you today for today's event. I am thankful for the important work DiscoverE is doing to encourage young women to get involved in STEM fields, and I am grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. This is such an exciting event with excellent guests, and I hope you are all enjoying it. As a co-chair of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus, I know just how important it is to encourage young women to pursue STEM fields. While the number of women in STEM has grown, there is still work to be done to increase the number of women in this field. Women and girls can do anything they put their minds to. Our future depends on the STEM fields, and it is more important than ever to have strong young women in STEM too. It is wonderful that events like these show young girls that they can pursue and thrive in STEM fields. I'm proud that the Women in STEM Caucus can be part of this important discussion today and help connect women to opportunities and experiences in STEM fields from a young age. I'm so honored to be able to speak with you today, and I will continue to promote opportunities for women in STEM here in Congress. Thank you again for having me today, and I hope you have a wonderful discussion.
Thank you, Congresswoman Lesko. Congresswoman Hayley Stevens grew up in Rochester Hills, Michigan. She earned a master's degree in social policy and philosophy and a bachelor's degree in political science and philosophy from American University. Congresswoman Stevens sits on the House Committee on Education and Labor and the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, where she also serves as chairwoman of the Research and Technology Subcommittee. She also serves as co-chair of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus. Congresswoman Stevens.
Hi everyone, it's Congresswoman Hayley Stevens, proudly representing Michigan's 11th district, the home of so much incredible manufacturing, automotive engineering, and innovation. And I am here to say happy Women in Engineering Day. As the founder of the Women in STEM Caucus in the Congress, as a leader in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics space, particularly for women, we want to achieve parity. We want to recognize our female engineers, oftentimes so many women who were the only woman at the table in engineering, drafting rooms, planning sessions, on factory floors. And while we're making progress, we still have a lot of room to grow. We want to see the number of women in engineering increase. In fact, we can push to double that number in certain fields. And so saying Happy Women in Engineering Day is recognizing women trailblazers, women leaders, and also encouraging the next generation to get involved, which is what I am so focused on in the Congress. So again, Congresswoman Hayley Stevens saying, let's go get them. Happy Women in Engineering Day.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Stevens. Congresswoman Jackie Wolorski is a lifetime Hoosier, born and raised in South Bend, Indiana, who represents Indiana's 2nd District in Congress. Serving on the House Ways and Means Committee and as the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Worker and Family Support, Jackie is focused on helping small businesses and manufacturers grow, expanding opportunities for American workers to succeed, and empowering individuals and families to thrive. She also serves as the ranking member of the House Ethics Committee and as co-chair of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus. Congresswoman Wolorski.
Hi, I'm Congresswoman Jackie Wolorski. Thank you to DiscoverE for hosting us today for an important discussion on the future of engineering and technology. Thank you also to our panelists for being here today and sharing their expertise. As co-chair of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus, it's my privilege to support girls in Indiana and across the country as they pursue engineering careers. On International Women in Engineering Day, we celebrate the women in engineering who excel every day, helping our world to solve problems and to move forward. Especially as technology continues to advance, it's so important that every American has the opportunity to pursue a career in STEM. STEM fields are a growing and vital component of America's workforce. These jobs are growing by a remarkable 24% each year. By 2025, we expect there will be over 1 million STEM job openings in the U.S. In addition to its value in the workforce, STEM education builds essential skills such as problem solving, creativity, and so much more. To make sure America leads in the 21st century, we must encourage young people, and especially girls, to pursue this track. We know that children who are introduced to these opportunities early on are much more likely to pursue a career in STEM with confidence. By highlighting good role models and uplifting learning opportunities, we can help young women embark on the path to success. Thank you to the women who have paved the way. You're the key to a brighter future, and I'm looking forward to our continued partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman Wolorski, and thank you to all of the co-chairs of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus. So now we will jump into our panel. So joining me today for our panel discussion are Teresa Drew, Sanika Katri, Kimberly Kinsley, and Karen Purcell. Teresa Drew is the Deputy Director of the STEM Next Opportunity Fund. In this role, Teresa oversees and manages complex multi-stakeholder projects that build systems of support for STEM learning opportunities in all 50 states. Teresa is currently directing the Million Girls Moonshot, a transformative nationwide initiative from STEM Next that will reimagine who can engineer. This project aims to close the gender gap in STEM over the next 5 years. We also have Sanika Katri. Sanika utilizes her passion for engineering to help innovate and build resilience through sustainable solutions in her role as a social impact specialist with Bechtel.org. She is a licensed professional engineer and has spent 5 years with Bechtel working on Department of Energy construction projects prior to taking on her current role. Sanika is passionate about uplifting our future generation of leaders and has led many employee resource groups at Bechtel that focus on diversity and inclusion in the engineering and construction industry. Kimberly Kinsley is Vice President and General Manager, Environmental and Airframe Control Systems at Collins Aerospace. In her roles, she oversees a segment of the Power and Controls Unit, which designs, develops, manufactures, and services environmental control systems, flight controls, and drive shafts for commercial and military customers. Kim is an active leader in Raytheon's Women in Line Leadership, or Will Rise program, which is focused on developing women in nonprofit and loss roles. She is also a member of the Raytheon Technologies Global Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board. And finally, we have Karen Purcell. Karen is a current member of the Nevada Licensing Board, president and CEO of PK Electrical, and author of Unlocking Your Brilliance: Smart Strategies for Women to Thrive in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. She is passionate about women in STEM and is excited to participate today, as are all of our panelists. So welcome to our panelists. So glad to have you with us today. So we're going to jump right into the questions. And of course, I welcome any of you to jump in, and at any given time, I may call on a panelist as well. But we'll start off with, when you talk about it's International Women in STEM Day and women in engineering and STEM and how they persist, why is this so important? Why is having women and their ability to persist so important when you talk about STEM today? Any one of you can jump in.
I'm happy to start. This is Karen Purcell. I think that attracting and retaining more women in STEM careers will help tremendously to improve diversity, maximize creativity, and boost competitiveness. Women in general just bring a different perspective to the workplace and can help breed creativity in these scientific and engineering fields that can only expand as broadly as the minds that work within them. And I also think that having people with different mindsets, capabilities, and imaginations on engineering teams, production teams, really improve the creative process and help help the whole team.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
Yes.
On that?
So this is Kim Kinsley with Collins Aerospace. Appreciate what you just said, Karen. And first of all, happy International Women in Engineering Day. This is a great opportunity to celebrate something that I think all of us on the panel here, and clearly the Congresswomen who provided their introductory remarks, and everybody on the phone are passionate about. And this is a great opportunity to kind of celebrate and talk about not only what we've done, but more of the work ahead and what we're doing around that. And in that regard, I would like to just thank you, Dr. Mike and DiscoverE. Collins Aerospace has been a partner and supporter of DiscoverE for over 20 years now. And I think that goes to underscore not only the importance of how we view STEM and getting girls and women into STEM, but with the number of engineers that we have inside of Collins Aerospace, over 16,000 engineers, as Karen had mentioned, it is so important for there to be diversity, not just gender diversity, but that's really the one place that we can work on. As Congresswoman Wolorski mentioned, that 51% of the population is women, yet only 16% of engineers are typically women. And so you just think about how we need to leverage all of the power and the capability in the diversity of solving problems and how we get better as a society and just how we propel forward. It's really important that we focus in how we get girls interested in STEM. And so again, Collins Aerospace, together with DiscoverE and other nonprofits out there, we are focused on doing that because we know that our ability to redefine aerospace is by getting in the best and the brightest and creating an environment where women and all employees can grow and develop and belong. And so I appreciate the opportunity. This is so important, I think, internationally, as well as in aerospace and defense and other technology companies. Thank you.
Absolutely, and we thank Collins Aerospace for your continued support of DiscoverE as well. And you brought up a great point about the importance of belonging when it comes to women as well. Teresa or Sanika, would you have any comments?
Yeah, go ahead, Sanika.
Oh, I appreciate that, Teresa, and welcome everyone. Thank you for inviting me and having me as a panelist. The reason why I feel like this is very important, International Women in Engineering Day, emphasis as well on international. There's so much untapped talents out there worldwide, and given the opportunity and the right infrastructure for these women and kids to succeed and thrive in engineering is very important. And also the allyship and representation matters. Just seeing that there are women that look like me, that have big curly hair, that have a nose ring, big glasses, in strong, high leadership positions, that really morphs your thinking into saying, like, yeah, I do belong. And I've been out of college for about 6 years now. So the journey of, now that I have my degree and I was so excited, I'm a civil engineer, I'm going to go make a difference in this world. How do I take that passion and what's next, like after college? Like, what is the workforce really like? And how do I tread those waters? That's why having your allyship and representation, all of that's truly and truly important, and tapping into the right talent. So International Women in Engineering Day, just really honored to be speaking with so many strong women here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Teresa?
I don't have too much to add because these amazing women in STEM have said it all. So, I mean, what I would add is that, how important it is to have that diversity of thought when we think about the greatest challenges and problems that we are facing today, and, the unknown challenges that we are still facing. So these types of, having a STEM thinking skill set is what will help us attend to these challenges. And it's an inherently attractive quality about STEM learning for girls. So, we can leverage girl-friendly strategies to tap into the solutions of tomorrow.
I love that. And actually, I'm going to, before I move on to the next question, I'm going to pivot back to Karen and ask a question that may be unexpected, but as the CEO of an engineering organization, and you talk about persistent and you talk about women in STEM leadership, talk a little bit about the importance of persistence when you talk about leadership in STEM organizations, given that you're a CEO.
Yeah, I think that it's very important for other women to encourage and support other women, especially in the STEM fields. I also think that having confidence helps with that. And the more that we can do together to encourage and support other women in STEM, the better off that we're going to be.
I love that. And do any of the other panelists have thoughts? I know you all are leaders, if you will, in your organizations as well. So when you talk about the leadership level of women in STEM and those levels, any feedback as well?
Yeah, I could just, I guess, add that there's like a tops down and bottoms up approach to, I would say, equality and equity, where yes, we do have a strong support, but it can't just be the workforce. It has to be upper level management as well. So getting allyship and partnerships from those key executive sponsors and champions that advocate for it is just resonating on that is just really important. It trickles down and flows down, and the messaging is just also important with when we receive it, the working level individuals as well. So it's a both top down, bottom up approach to delivering that message of women are important and we belong.
Yes, champions and leadership within your companies that support women in STEM is also of critical importance to ensuring the persistence and thriving of women in engineering as well. So we'll move on to our next question. Reports like DiscoverE's Despite the Odds and programs like DiscoverE's Persist series identify key factors that link whether young women choose engineering. One of those factors is seeing engineering in a positive light at an early age, so for young girls. One theme underlying all the research of girls' engineering interests, attitudes, self-confidence, value perception, and experiences was that these factors were likely sparked by participating in some type of informal learning experience, such as clubs and enrichment activities, or by the opportunity to take engineering-related coursework when they were in school. I'm curious to hear about your experiences when it comes to what led you to the kind of the engineering field, and what types of activities or informal learning may have informed your interest in STEM or STEAM. We'll start off with Kim.
Great question. Thank you. And so a couple of ways to answer this question. So one, I am a plastics engineer. I have a bachelor and master's in plastics engineering. And that really came through encouragement from my father, who was a chemist, polymer chemist. And he understood that I had a technical mindset, but that unlike Sanika, I couldn't go do civil engineering. Like, I can't do electrical engineering, but I can do engineering things where I really kind of touch, like I create and I can touch, and it's very tactile. And he saw that, and he was able to encourage me and get me exposed to the right part of a really large engineering universe. So I understood how I could fit in and create that confidence and get the support. And so I think one element that I've benefited from that I think is really important as we talk about how we engage girls and women in STEM is that, one, engineering is not this homogeneous universe, right? There are so many different things in engineering, especially nowadays versus when I went to college, that how you create those opportunities for exposure so that if girls see this part of engineering and they're like, yeah, well, that's not for me, that it doesn't stop there, right? You say, okay, well, maybe that piece of engineering isn't for you, but how can we get you exposure elsewhere? So I think that's one really important point. The second one is, how do you create curiosity, but then kind of bravery through support? And both Karen and Sanika talked about the importance of support. And I think part of what we also need to understand as leaders who are passionate about STEM is, what does support look like? Support might look different for me than it might look for each of the different panelists here. And so how we create that dialogue around, well, like, how could we help you create that confidence? How could we help support you? How do you be curious and how do you be brave? So I think it's creating those right engagement opportunities with the right leaders, with the right people who are really passionate about STEM, and just broadening that exposure to girls early on and then to women as they're early in their careers. So going back to a couple of points that the other panelists said earlier, I think are really important.
Absolutely. So Sanika, is there any particular childhood experience that created that kind of STEM aha moment for you that you can talk about?
Yeah, and what Kim was resonating on with exposure, I think, is really important. Just because someone thinks a certain way, that doesn't mean you can't think another way and still get to the right answer. So for me, I had a different kind of experience. It was more of, I was born in Nepal, and my family is still living in Nepal. And when I was in middle school, I actually went to go to Nepal to visit my dad's side of the family too. They live in like the village, and it was so fascinating how different our infrastructure is in a developed country versus one that's undeveloped or in developing. So to understand that, I live in this environment where everything seems like a basic necessity, but in another country, you'd have to go and pump water potentially at a pump to go and gather and fetch water, or your electricity might go out at various times in the day. So for me, I just like to make people's lives easier and just problem solve. And that was kind of like my spark or interest. I didn't know what avenue really to pursue that in. But when I saw that basic infrastructure was lacking in certain countries, and someone told me like engineers do that, and I'm like, okay, I think I found a purpose where I want to make people's lives better and easier, faster, more optimal, but also add that human like element to it where everyone deserves that structure that that first world countries like the United States has. So that's what really sparked my interest in engineering, is that willingness to give back and just help build the world and make it a better place and beyond as well.
Absolutely. And I think you make a great point in that quite often as engineers, especially as we've grown in our engineering careers, we begin to learn how there's this connection to human and social good that often drives young girls to want, and even young men to want to be involved in engineering pursuits. I'm going to go to Teresa next, and as part of your response to the question, I know you're going to talk a little bit, hopefully, about Moonshot, but there was also a question where you mentioned girl-friendly strategies, and so some of the folks watching would like you to elaborate on what those strategies might include as well when you talk about experiences in Moonshot.
Thanks, Dr. Mike. Well, first, I have the when you asked us what was it that inspired us, and I have an interesting kind of flip on that, because early on when I was a young girl, I have like a very curious nature and want to like understand everything, and was wanting to pursue environmental science in college and at my community college, and I did not have anyone who was championing me, helping me, or even the ability to see a woman in STEM who could help me really, honestly, tactically get through chemistry. And when you're first person in your family to go to college and you're at the community college and you can't get through the first year of chemistry, you are turned off. That's it. It's over. And so, what I did was then pivot to education as a means, like, okay, how can I take what I want to know and explore and learn about and shift it into education and think, okay, I want to make sure that the girl like me is not going to have that experience and feels confident going into school, thriving through school, and persisting through a STEM career. So, we have launched now in my adult life, I get to do the Million Girls Moonshot, which is a national initiative really helping to transform who can engineer, who can build, and who can invent. And our goal is to ensure that 1 million girls over the next 5 years have the ability to cultivate an engineering mindset, which will help us have these future engineers and innovators. We leverage the out-of-school space because it's flexible and nimble and a place where young people can really get their hands dirty and hands-on, turn on their minds. So these girl-friendly strategies are absolutely inherent in the Moonshot. So we work with a lot of different partner organizations to help the out-of-school sector and field really make this shift. Organizations like DiscoverE, because we share this mission. So some of the girl-friendly strategies, they're simple, and you've actually heard all the people on this panel talk about them already. First and foremost, design with girls in mind. Think about the end user. The end user are the girls. And so we need to be thinking about what is it that matters to them. So one of the key things, we've heard it here, focus on real relevant problems. So when you're thinking about the opportunities for young people, think about how can I create STEM learning that's solving a problem that matters to the young person in their community, in their family. Maybe it's a global problem. We've seen a lot of that in the news these days. For the Million Girls Moonshot, we incorporate that into the engineering mindset, which is really a set of 10 habits of practice focusing on skills-based, knowledge-based, attitudes. It's a shift in thinking and includes those girl-friendly elements like relevancy and teamwork. The other thing is starting early. We heard this too. Start early, make it fun and engaging. But the trick is we have to ensure that we're doing a handoff to something else. So when the young girl who goes to a camp is like really excited about the experiences that she's just had, we as the adults, wherever you fall in the system, whether you're parent, program provider, teacher, whoever you are, it's our job to help them go to another opportunity. And this is really tricky. As a STEM funding organization for years, this is the problem that we have experienced. So the Million Girls Moonshot is very intentionally trying to tackle that. And then, of course, creating this learning space that really is focusing and fostering the sense of inclusion and belonging. And for us, that means tapping into the community assets and strengths. What is it that, again, matters the most to the young person? How are we leveraging, the community around them? There are teachers and educators everywhere you turn. And again, we're connecting all of those dots. Together, we do more, we do better, and we are able to get farther. And then the last few things, these are the most important. Role models matter. Sharing your personal stories, so that the young person can see themselves in that person, that is motivating, gives them the confidence. And it shows them how STEM careers can help solve some of these problems so they feel this sense of agency. Having a mentor, that's a deeper type of relationship, but that mentor can help with that brokering and the handoff. That is like a key to persistence. And then we talk about families. I mean, you cannot underestimate the power of encouragement alone. Just having people in your corner to make sure that you're moving. So these are simple strategies. They seem simple, they're complex. It takes all of us doing it together over and over, early, often, through the middle years, through high school, into college and career. Just a lot of over and together.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm going to move on to question 3, and we're going to start with Karen on question 3, and feel free, Karen, to infuse, if there's an aha moment, to infuse that into your response as well. DiscoverE's report also found that in workplaces, there was an unusually high retention rate for female engineers. All the women revealed that they had come into the field strongly believing in themselves as engineers, which is great. The authors found that the most striking features of the interviews were the confidence with which all the women asserted that they were good engineers and that they belonged in engineering, although for some women, it had taken time to feel that they belonged. So I'll ask you, Karen, what factors, and the other panelists, of course, what factors have supported you in your career, and what do you see needs to be done to help women thrive in engineering, to move beyond just persisting and surviving?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Mike. I will start with my aha moment because it kind of leads to this. So when I was a senior in high school, my high school physics teacher, Mr. Brown, said to me, Karen, when you go to college, you should study engineering. And my response was, engineering, what's that? And so he said, well, it involves a lot of science and math, and you really can do anything that you want to do with a degree in engineering. So I'm going to date myself here, but that was pre-internet times. So there wasn't easy access to like Google engineering. So I valued his opinion and his confidence that he had in me, and I pursued engineering in college. And so I am always very fortunate and very thankful to Mr. Brown for making that recommendation. And so I feel that it really shows how much educators and other individuals in your life can have an impact that can really lead you in a certain direction. And so with that, I feel that mentorship, as Teresa just recently mentioned, is very important. And I've had various mentors along the way. And I think that along with mentorship comes maintaining confidence. And in my book, I talked about the importance of maintaining confidence to really help women thrive in engineering. And by maintaining confidence, an individual can not only succeed in STEM or really anything that they do, but they really can thrive. And in my book, I do suggest various strategies to overcome that hurdle of maybe lack of confidence. And mentorship is one of those. Find a mentor. And another one for me, for example, is just to participate in activities that make you feel really good about yourself. For example, I'm a runner, and every time I run, whether that's a 5K, a 10K, half marathon, whatever that is, every time I cross that finish line, I say to myself, wow, I just did that. I can do anything that I set my mind out to. And I feel that having that sort of mindset, that in a positive way, has really helped. And same with, any of the projects that we get to work on here at PK Electrical, or even as a member of the Nevada Licensing Board, having that confidence has really helped me kind of guide my way.
Awesome. Kim, any particular factors that supported you in your career? What do you think is needed for women to really thrive in engineering?
So the importance of mentorship and role models is so very important. And what I think is an important aspect of that mentorship is kind of how, like, what do you need from a mentor? And I think that changes depending upon kind of where you are in your education and where you might be in your career. And so if we think about kind of where there might be mentoring, and I think there's a couple of questions from some of the audience on girls more in elementary school and in maybe middle school and high school. Mentors, it's probably more around role models, and it's more around what Teresa said, which is how do you make sure going from one activity to another, there's continuity and there's support and capabilities. I think it's just how we think about that support system. And I had mentioned that earlier, just having that support, mentors and role models are really important. And I have benefited from that, especially when you think about when you solve problems, you're not always going to figure out the answer, the perfect answer the first time. And so part of what you need is that support network, understanding that if your confidence is shaken because, hey, I didn't quite get that right the first time, that's learning. And that's good. And that's what we need. And that's what makes engineers better. And that's how we solve problems better. And so it's just really thinking about what that mentoring and that role model network needs to be with where you are. And then how do we create the right access for girls and women so that they don't have to go seeking that all on their own, but they're able to find that easily to support them.
Absolutely. And Sanika, any feedback? And maybe when we talk about women of varying ages and also women of varied ethnic and racial backgrounds as well.
Yeah, so I think Karen and Kim and Teresa all brought up some very good points in role models and mentorship. I think just going back to the basics for myself, because this was a long self-reflection and journey as well. Knowing yourself is really important. It took me a lot of time to understand where I am, and I eventually learned that I identify as an introvert. So sometimes it is a little bit harder for me to go out there and seek mentorship or go out there and network. But now that I know myself a lot better, I don't use that as a weakness. I use that as a strength. Like, I know where my credentials lie. I know my self-worth. I know I do belong, but sometimes I need to put in a little bit of extra energy to network and grow and expand. So knowing yourself is really important. Another mindset shift that I had to learn is knowing things that you can and can't control. I can control what I say and how I react and how I behave and what I put out to the table, but I can't control my environment or those extra variables that are sometimes trying to hinder me or challenge me. But I try to take that very objectively now, and knowing that I can still put forth a proper and confident, as everyone was saying, response to the table. The other asset that helped me that we already chimed in on is mentorship and role models. Knowing my resources, like our company has business resource groups, which are like strategic strategic groups that help different types of people from ethnic backgrounds or from different mindsets. And I've been lucky enough to lead and participate in some of these groups. One was called Be Pro, Women at Bechtel, Be Serve, Be Familia, Be Proud, Be Bold. And our latest one is Be Inspiration. So I know it sounds very cliche in the way it is, but it's so comforting to know that a company has resources like that you could tap into, to know that you have a safe spot, to know that you have like networks that you could bounce ideas off of safely, and those that can really resonate with your story. So business resource groups are just really important, and knowing your network and knowing that you can go out to your comfort zone. But I will challenge everyone to go outside your comfort zone as well. You learn so much from seeing these different groups and people with differing opinions. So I know I even get shaken up or flustered when there's a moment where someone comes with a very out of the blue opinion and thought about a certain situation, but just taking a deep breath, taking it objectively, knowing your response, and just moving forward is the way that we should at least try to process and help. And that's the guidance I wish I could have given myself like 6 years ago when I started. But like I said, we're all learning and growing. But no, everyone said just the right things. You need to network, you need to build, and it takes a tribe. But knowing yourself is where it gets started.
Thank you. So I'm going to move to our last question. I'm going to ask each of you, and then hopefully be able to take at least a couple of questions from our webinar audience. But I'll start with you, Teresa. And every one of you mentioned the importance of role models and allies in really supporting women in their persistence and then thriving. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to a young girl or a woman that's that's navigating an engineering career, what would that one piece of advice be? And I'll start with you, Teresa.
Gosh, just one. There's so many. I'm going to just really speak from the heart right now for me. And I think, I have this, convergence of education and STEM, and how does that meet for me? And it was I have a go-to person who early in my career was she's more than a mentor. It's like the person who I just can struggle in front of and just help me make sense of what's going on. Being a woman in STEM in any career has its own set of challenges, and I have a woman who I can call and say, help me, and she helps me. And to me, having that person as my champion just unconditionally has been very helpful in my career. So I would say, if you find one person or more who can be your go-to, stick to your go-to.
Gotcha. Karen.
Sure. Mine is very similar to what Teresa just said. It would be either serve as or find a mentor. Like Teresa, I have a mentor who happens to be male that I don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call. So a mentor can be male or female, but I feel that it's important to either serve as one or to find one.
Absolutely. Kim.
They've already said it. Teresa and Karen have already said it. I would say maybe just one other to add on top of that is believe in yourself. So be curious and believe in yourself. And engineering in STEM is not about being perfect, although I think lots of times we will say that. But right. Be curious, be brave, and believe in yourself.
Awesome. And Sanika.
Yeah, just resonating on what everyone's already mentioned. The last thing I would say is dare to be different. It's okay to have sometimes even an uncomfortable conversation with someone. It means you're challenging yourself. It means you're growing yourself. So I always felt like I had to fit in a box of these are the credentials of what an engineer needs to do or someone in construction needs to look like or say. But now I just speak my mind. I dare to be different. I'm always respectful, professional, but be bold and be proud of who you are. You deserve it and your worth is there. So just be yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm going to try to get to a couple of questions. So we had a question from one of our watchers, Jenny, who asked, "I'd love to hear about the strategies these individuals and their companies are using to engage young women in STEM. What age groups do they target, and where do they feel are the major downfalls or gaps that they're seeing for girls trying to engage in engineering?" And so I know that, Kim, you said that you wanted to speak on that as well.
Certainly. So thanks, Dr. Mike, and thanks for the question. So part of our partnership with DiscoverE, as well as just being a aerospace, so highly technical company, is that we have Introduce a Girl to Engineering, which is part of, just the Engineers Week and then celebrating International Women in Engineering Day. And what we do is we really leverage the engineers and the employees who are passionate about this inside the company and provide them support and not only give them the opportunity, but encourage them to go work these kind of Introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. And so far this year, we've held 40 events in 6 countries with 2,500 students and 600 employees participating.
Amazing.
And so for us as a company, it's about creating the platform and encouraging and enabling our employees to make that happen. So that's just one quick example.
All right. Does any of the other panelists want to answer that?
I'll take a shot at it. I would say that my company, PK Electrical, as well as NCEES, that strongly support women and girls in STEM. I think that it's important that we do a lot of public outreach activities, and whether that's going into school, like elementary schools, and doing something fun with the boys and the girls to show them what engineering is all about, and then taking them to or showing them pictures of, okay, we designed this is what it looks like on paper, and then this is what it actually looks like when it's constructed. So I think just really getting out there and talking more about what engineering is and showing them examples. And then we also talk a lot about the importance of professional licensing and what that means. So a lot of public outreach.
Gotcha. And so our next question is, and you all again talked about it, but maybe the core question is, how do young girls or young female engineers actually find role models? If they feel like they're challenged in identifying that role model that can support them, how do they make that connection? Anyone?
Well, I'll take for us, the Million Girls Moonshot initiative is about helping young people connect to those role models and mentors and making it all happen. And we have a collective impact approach. So again, we're working with corporations like Boeing and Intel and Qualcomm and those organizations more to bring their employees, create those opportunities and train those employees so that they are able to have a meaningful role model or mentorship type of volunteer experience, and then connect them with young people in out of school learning programs across the country. So, for us, it's a super important part of the initiative, and there are 100,000 after school and summer programs that fall within the network that we're working with. So it's a lot of programs, a lot of kids, a lot of really great talent already in the workforce that wants to be able to share and inspire young girls. So our job is to ensure that those connections are being made. Join the Moonshot. Go to the website, milliongirlsmoonshot.org.
There it is. Does anybody else have a response? If not, I'll go to one more question. All right. The next question is, I am a Hispanic female engineer and would love your insights into how to encourage minority women and girls to enter the field. I believe they have additional challenges. So does anybody want to address that?
Yeah, I could go ahead and speak on that as well. Like I said, representation matters, and just showing that the positive outcomes of, even though everyone has a struggle and everyone has a past and everyone had to overcome hardships. I'm first generation here in the States, first one to go to college in my family, first one to go into engineering. So there's a lot of firsts and hurdles that I had to overcome. But I try to lead by example and just say, like, talk about that personal connection. I know the panelists had mentioned that before, sharing your personal story matters. So that's why I'm proud to say that I've teaching by example is just very important, and getting them interested. And honestly, a lot of these things when I was in middle school and elementary school wasn't available, and now they are available. So knowing those programs and resources, I think, is that easy way to segue into that conversation. I know I went to Girls Inc. once locally in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and I was working with the girls there in an after school program. And they were just one of the activities was building like a model airplane. And I was just amazed about how methodical everyone was and how creative everyone was. So just getting them involved and knowing your local resources, I think, is important. And also that outreach of Be Familia, like, is one of our business resource groups. There's always NSBE, SHEP, other professional engineering groups that locally you could tap into as well, and have like that mentorship and have that conversation early on. That's what I would at least advise, is knowing those resources.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm going to get to one more question, and we have literally 1 minute left. So in like 15 seconds, literally, because I think it's a very important question. If you can, this is from Becky. I'm a community college student for an associate degree in pre-engineering. The road seems so long, and I am the only girl for miles even trying to become an engineer. It feels very lonely. What would help me not give up this pursuit? So in like 15 seconds each, what would you say to Becky? Kim? I know that's hard.
Be the trailblazer.
Be the trailblazer. Love it. Karen?
I would say talk to other women, reach out to others. They'll be more than happy to support you.
Teresa?
I would say join the association, SWE, NSBE, SHIP, that's closest to you. And if you want a role model, Becky, email me and I'll connect you with someone.
Absolutely. And Sanika?
That's what I was going to say. Come to events like this to network.
Wonderful. Well, ladies, I absolutely appreciate you. DiscoverE appreciate you for joining us today to celebrate International Women in STEM Day, and for your insights and thoughts. And in follow up to this webinar, I'm sure we will be sharing information for those in the audience who may not have had a question answered, and how to reach out to you all. And we're just so happy to celebrate this day. And again, from DiscoverE, we thank the Women in STEM Caucus, and we thank you all for joining and participating today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.